everyone, and welcome to tonight's live stream. We are so excited to have everyone here and just to hear about some awesome work that our students have been doing. So we might as well just jump straight into it. So I will let you take it away, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you so much, Cam and Edee, for joining us tonight. Welcome.
Yeah,
Hello.
cheers for having us.
Yeah.
All right, so before we jump into some questions and start all the talking, I just want to let our beautiful viewers out there know that if anyone would like to ask Cam or Edee any questions tonight, please do feel free to just pop them in our Facebook chat, YouTube chat, and we can definitely answer them live or answer them the best we can. And also, I just realized the names are
Yes.
meant to be the other way around. So for our lovely viewers out there, that is not Cam, that's imposter Cam, that's actually Edee, and that is imposter Edee, that's actually Cam. Oh, there we go.
Edee's
All right.
That was cool.
Yes, all right, there we go. Some of the magic to begin the show with. Excellent. All right, so excellent. Let's dive straight into it. So for those that out there are watching that have no idea who Imposter Cam or Real Cam or Edee is, do you mind just quickly giving us a little bit of your background information? Who are you?
Yeah, sure thing. So I am Edee, as my name says. I graduated from AIE in the design stream and did Gdml, which I think we're going to get into a bit later, but have since started Mini Mammoth Games with Camryn and 6 other people, all graduated together. I am the COO of the company, as well as obviously one of the lead designers. Yeah.
Yep. I'm Camryn. I'm the QA director and one of the programmers here at Mini Mammoth. I graduated programming and went through Gdml with Edee and everyone else.
Yeah. Excellent. And the acronym there, Gdml, for everyone watching that is not familiar, our Graduate Diploma of Management and Learning. It is a business diploma, but I'm sure we'll kind of get into more information on that later, as both of you two are graduates from that as well now. So before we kind of jump into the future, let's go all the way back to the past. So Cam, do you want to share a little bit about your journey from when you were a young teenager, I guess? Let's start in teenage, unless it began before that. But how you eventually ended up in game development.
Right. So back in high school, we had IT, which we did programming with. I had a really good IT teacher who got me into actually programming stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how I started out in programming, and then since that, I know I always wanted to do programming. But I didn't want to touch databases because they were incredibly boring. Later, one of my mates linked me to a advert on Facebook with AIE. So I took a Certificate 3 course online remotely. And then that got me the kind of portfolio to go into the graduate diploma.
Yeah. So did you love the certificate work in high school?
It was, it was definitely really interesting to do something outside of my classes as well. Yeah, it was cool.
All right, and that was a Certificate 3 in IT. So you would have been using C++?
That was C#. So that was
C#.
Yeah, there's I think it was Certificate 3 in game design.
Yeah. Were you were using Unity?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so C#. Awesome. All right, Edee, what about your journey? Similar, different?
Pretty different. Sorry. I went through high school and went into thinking I'd be engineering or computer science because I didn't realize there was really a pathway into game design. It was one of those things this seems really cool and I would love to do it, but I didn't know about AI at the time, obviously. And so I ended up going to uni and doing computer science for a few years and did not enjoy it very much, and ended up dropping out, but got a 3-month internship at an indie developer that was based over in Perth at the time. So I went and lived over in Perth for 3 months and did that and was like, okay, no, I actually want to pursue this properly. And then found out about AE from a friend, so went in with game design, and then here we are.
What age did you move to Perth?
So it would have been 4 years ago, so early 20s, 21, 22, around that.
Yeah. Was it a bit scary?
It wasn't too bad. My sister had been living over there for a number of years at that
Okay.
point, so I just went and lived with her basically. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Do you, I guess like while we've got the time now, just very quickly, what was the indie group called, and like what were you doing there for them?
Yeah, so it was a company called Off Peak Games. They unfortunately don't exist anymore, but they made virtual reality games specifically.
Ah, cool.
So it was, yeah, working in VR in Unity, but that was where I kind of got my first taste of how to actually use Unity. Like I had programming experience from doing a few years of
Yeah.
computer science, but that was really like
Yeah.
actually learning about game design stuff and game development specifically.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, awesome. And how did you then? How did both of you find out about AIE? Like, what was I guess the deciding factor when you saw it, you heard about it? Maybe someone spoke to you, and you were just like, "Yep, this is the right pathway for me. This is the one."
I had a friend that had gone there and done game design, so they
Yeah.
told me about it and they said, "Yeah, if you want to get into game design, it's a good way to do it." So I was like, "Yeah, I'm sold." Yeah, it was recommended from first-hand experience. So.
Yeah. Cool. And Cam, you?
Yeah, after doing the certificate, I had good fun doing that, so I
Yeah.
decided to keep going on with it.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. And then I guess then you started doing the advanced diploma with us, which is our career course. During that journey, I guess that student life, what was your experience like?
It was fun. I had a good amount of fun with it. Yeah, met some good mates and
Was it
also
what
met
you
some
thought
really cool.
when you went into it, or was it a bit different?
I wasn't sure. I was almost expecting it to be a bit more like what I thought uni would be like, but since it's such a
Yeah.
smaller, kind of more compressed, like training as opposed to like what school had just been.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting, but it was cool.
Yeah. Edee, what was your experience like? Was it what you expected? Different?
I didn't really know what to expect going in, to be honest. But I guess the comparison to uni is a good one because yeah, I basically came into AIE after doing 3 or 4 years of uni study, and I much preferred AIE because yeah, like it's the much smaller, close knit group. Like you're with the same people every day, kind of thing. But yeah, it made a lot of really good friends. I mean, like we formed a company of 8 people all who went through AIE together, so I'd say we're all good friends. But yeah, and yeah, personally for me, having the like 9 to 5 structure was really good because I can I can struggle to self-motivate sometimes outside of like obligations. So actually just having that, come in at 9, work until 5, go home and don't have to stress about it outside of that too much. Works really well personally. Yeah.
And during your study, what would you say is the best skill that you learned that is now applicable or helpful as a game developer?
That's an interesting one. So I was trying to think about this earlier. I mean, obviously, like general game design stuff and like working in Unity, basic programming, basic art, how like all of that works is obviously incredibly useful to know for making games. But I guess outside of that, a lot of the like working in teams was I think something that they pushed really heavily that has been really useful. And then especially in like second year for development, there was a lot of focus on project management stuff and working with clients and kind of taking that leadership role is a lot of what like designers have to do. So I think that's been particularly useful for sure.
Yeah. And Cam, what about you?
Probably as a programmer, the ability to adapt. So like the actual process of you have this structured learning and you like go through and you fulfill all the requirements of that like assignment, you then can quite easily adapt it into you have all the requirements for this project that you're now like working on yourself and have to like research it and figure out how to do it. So it's that like structured like learning experience, that ability to adapt to what you need to get done.
There was a fantastic conference that I joined at Game Plus a few months ago, and it was from the initial developers and creators of the idea of like being the agile workflow or being agile in the workplace. did you actually, this is probably more a question for Edee, but was there, I definitely know that there's iterative design in the design course, but did they touch on Agile at all when you went through?
Yes, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely towards the end of first year and then pushed into second year as well. We learned a lot about agile development and, you know, daily scrums and all of that. And that is something that we've carried through since then, all through last year, and still do. Yeah, we have our daily scrums still at the moment. So I think that, another really good thing to have learned.
Yeah, I'd imagine now being game developers, you've seen things change very rapidly and unexpectedly. Is that it would?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Does it actually? This one's putting you on the spot. Does anyone have a bit of a story about like how something's completely been thrown upside down in a small window of time?
I mean, a game we were working on a few months ago. It was for a like month-long game jam competition thing. It was being hosted overseas, and we didn't check the submission deadline for it properly and didn't convert it to our time zone. So it was the day before. It was like a Wednesday, and we thought we had until Friday, like Friday evening to do it. But it turns out it was like 7 a.m. Thursday morning. So I think the whole team ended up staying up until 4 or 5 in the morning, finishing that off to get it all done in time.
Yeah. We took that as an experience to go, oh no, never again. That was
we took the next day off.
Yeah, probably a good call. How did the game come out?
Not too bad. We definitely overscoped it a bit to start with. That was a bit rushed towards the end, but I think we were happy with it, and we have since done a lot more work on it, and are very happy with how it is at the moment, or how it is now. Yeah.
Actually, this ties in very well with, I was going to ask for students who are watching this currently, AIE students that is, what would be your best bit of advice? I'm just going to jump in here and say one of them is don't overscope. Like I've seen it so many times. I'm going to build an MMO in 3 days. It's just not going to happen. But I'll throw it to either of you, whoever wants to jump in first. But a quick bit of advice for current students at AIE, going through either programming or design.
I think one of the big things that I would give specifically, I guess I can only speak from design, but I imagine it probably applies to most of the disciplines. But to really like actually make the most of your time there, like don't just like look at the requirements to pass an assignment and do the bare minimum. Like actually put in the effort and do the best you can and experiment and mess around, because you really do get out of it as much as you put in. And it means that your portfolio will look better at the end. You'll learn more yourself. Like, so I think that's the main piece of advice is, really just like actually, put in the most amount of work you can.
Yeah, I love that, and I wholeheartedly agree with that one. That is a really good point. Cam, you've got a high bar to say now.
I agree with Edee's. I agree with that a lot. I definitely got to put a bit more effort in, but that's all right now. Mine is similar vein, make the most of what you have there, but work with other people. So we started as a company because we worked with each other outside of AA and started working on our own little project, and then that some of us then worked together on the end of year project, and then since we'd all worked together in some form or another, we decided to go into Gdml together. So it's that kind of take advantage of the fact you have programmers and designers and artists all there together, assemble your own little team, and go do cool things.
And that working together, I guess, was the foundations for forming Mini Mammoth. Obviously, that wouldn't have happened if you didn't get along with people, you didn't meet people. And I urge students every day to get out of your comfort zone, not entirely, but just a little bit. Say hi to someone you might not have met before, or you'll never know what happens. Doors open. Excellent, excellent advice as well. All right, so that's the AIE. We've kind of gone through the study part now, but then let's have a look at and start getting into the graduate diploma, or the Gdml as we've referred to it as, which is really kind of where Mini Mammoth started, I believe. So let's talk through the beginning of it and maybe just a bit of the story of how Gdml was for Mini Mammoth Games.
Yeah, so I guess for those who don't know, GDML is it's an optional third year you can do after the advanced diploma. It's only one class, like you're not split by like
Disciplines.
between artists disciplines. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
At all. And it's focusing much more on like the business side of things. So it's specifically for like you go in as a team with the intention of making a business and like making products to actually release and like and if that is something that is you are interested in doing, it is definitely worth it, I think. So that's basically what it is. For us, I think we decided pretty early on, the 8 of us, that we were going to do it. I think 6 of the 8 were working together on the final production already in second year, and then we had worked with the other couple of people already. So, and yeah, I mean, it went really well for us, I think.
Yep. All right. So Cam, do you want to jump in and just quickly speak about like maybe your experience in the GDML? What was it like? I know that for those that aren't watching, the GDML it's a lot of paperwork. You are learning about the business aspect. So sometimes when you ask for a GDML student, like, hey, what have you been working on for the last month? It's just Word documents. So it's not, I guess, a huge amount to show, but at the same time, there definitely is a huge product to show at the end of the year, or going into the following year, because you are commercially releasing your video game. So maybe speak about working on that project, your first project in GDML as a team.
Yeah, our first project in Gdml, so pretty early on, like March, I think, of last year, we started working on a little game called Critter Capture. Actually, we had 3 like sister games at the time. So since we're a team of 8, we split into 3 smaller teams. Yeah, there we go. We split into 3 smaller teams, and like each started working on a little project. Edee and I worked on Critter Capture. And yeah, so we were doing that alongside doing all the like Gdml paperwork at the same time, just to keep us doing something, like keep our hands on the tools, as well as using that to fill out paperwork. Because I think that was the point we're probably looking at, like, we weren't looking at like analytics and stuff yet. We weren't like looking at analyzing audience, but it wasn't far off. So it was like, it tied quite heavily into what we were doing at Gdml at the same time.
Yeah. And that you spoke of actually is a really big part of the GDML, like market research and I guess monetizing. Are you two just able to quickly talk about some of like the projects? Then I know that it is the paperwork side. Some people see it as like the more boring side, but some of the skills you learn in GDML that are really useful as a game developer now. Either of you can jump in on that one.
Oh yeah, well definitely what you touched on with like analytic stuff and the market research has been insanely helpful. Being able to actually learn how to implement that and what we should specifically be tracking and how we can then use that to improve our products and stuff further on is really good. And also marketing stuff and planning around that and different tools to make it easier. So like, for instance, we learned how to use tools so that you can post to all of your social medias at once from like one place. You don't have to go and set it up all individually and stuff. So learning about all of that has been really helpful. And the testing and QA side of things was also very good because we touched on it briefly in the design topic, but it was only you spend like 2 weeks on it and it's fairly superficial, I guess. Whereas this was a lot more like, here's how you make proper testing regimes and go through and make sure you actually do them because they will help a lot in the long term, despite how boring it actually seems at the time.
Yeah. And it just occurred to me actually, so for the viewers out there watching as well, so these games, correct me if I'm wrong on the description here, but Mini Mammoth, they create hyper casual mobile games. So for anyone who wants, they can jump on to their phone and download any of these games at any time. But the point of these games, I believe, is to just capture your attention, have a bit of fun. And I believe like replayability, how far do you guys want spending on that?
You want to take this one, Camryn?
Yeah, so we want people preferably coming back as much as possible. But that's like the part of our analytics is we're like trying out these different projects and seeing which ones have like the most retention, how long people stick around for and come back to it.
Yeah. And do you just want to quickly go through actually the games that we can kind of see on screen, or some of the games that you have already published as Mini Mammoth?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, here we have Snackwitch, which is one of the first 3 games we worked on. It's you try and stack your sandwich as high as possible to try and reach the heavens. Our other game is Critter Capture, which we mentioned briefly, where you capture critters. And the third game at that same time was Bundle Rush, where you're sorting these little fluffy critters into their different like categories. So here is Critter Capture, for instance.
Yeah.
And here's Bundles,
yeah, and then since then we've released another 5 or 6 games, maybe. I don't know. We've kind of gotten into the habit of like rapid prototyping, trying to build things in a couple of weeks, chucking them out there, getting a few hundred players in them, and seeing what sticks and what we should keep working on.
Yeah, and I guess from your first project to this project, what are some of the lessons that you've learned along the way?
I think one of the big things was we spent a lot of time trying to polish up our first few games to try and we spent more time polishing them than we probably should have without actually getting that like metrics and testing data. So that is why we're now focusing on releasing smaller things that are less polished, but we haven't noticed that there's a big increase in like player count or retention from releasing something that's slightly more polished, like spending the extra 2 weeks doing that. So that's probably a main thing as far as the actual like development side goes.
And,
I thought I'd pop in. Do you guys have a favorite game? I'm just watching all the different trailers and I'm wondering like which one is like, if I'm gonna go download one, which one do you guys recommend the most?
That's good.
Probably Critter Capture for me personally.
It does look
that's my favorite one. I had good fun like working on it.
Cool.
Yeah, I am generally a big fan of Critter Capture as well. I think it's I don't know, it could just be a little bit of like nostalgia because it was the first thing I worked on, but I really like the way it looks and the way it plays.
Yeah.
And then also Ocean Harvest, which is our most recent one. We just released a big update for that a week or 2 ago. I'm really happy with how that turned out, and I think that's pretty good. So they'd be the 2.
Was Ocean Harvest for a client?
No, it was
Okay.
the game that we built for the game jam I was mentioning beforehand.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
After that, we have then gone through and updated it a lot and added a bunch more to it and everything. Yeah.
Ah, cool. All right. So I'm actually keen to play that one. So that was the game jam one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Which one, off the top, this is a bit of more of a marketing or analytics question, but which one so far has been the most popular out of your games?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I think Ocean Harvest had pretty good retention, and probably our longest average playtime, but it is definitely more of a, like, it's a bit more than a hyper casual game, I guess. It's got a bit more in it than that. Yeah, and then just some of our other little ones, like I think Bank Run, which was one of those games that was made in just over a week and released, did surprisingly well on cost per install, so like how much it costs for advertising to get someone to install it, and retention rate.
Nice. And let's talk more like specifically about like each of your roles within the team. So Cam, let's go with you first. What's your day-to-day look like as now an indie developer working as a programmer?
So it depends on what we're doing at the time. A lot of our stuff like varies from month to month, because sometimes we could be working on a contract, like trying to get the paperwork pushed away, like we're kind of doing at the moment. Otherwise, we could be working on trying to get Ocean Harvest out in a month, in which case our whole week will consist of just pushing hard on that. Primarily I'm programmer, so I'll be programming stuff. Otherwise, I also head up QA. So I will put the system in place at the end where I get everyone to play through and check the things that they've worked on and make sure everything works properly.
Nice. And Edee, your kind of day-to-day role, I'd imagine it changes a lot.
Yeah.
But...
yeah. So Camryn's got it pretty spot on. It really does depend on what's going on, I guess. And it's kind of split between, like, because I do the COO role. So that's like, normally like when I start in the morning, I'll pull up our company emails and go through all of them and either respond to anything that needs responding to or like palm it off to other people if it's more relevant for them. And then hopefully get into actually doing some development. But it really does depend. Like, there's a lot of like meetings as well, like with potential clients or current clients, things like this, going to events. But yeah, it's definitely a very big divide, and it really does just depend on the time. But other than that, the development side of things is working in Unity, doing some programming, some art, putting everything together, making sure it all works and is fun to play, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite part of the day generally?
I get a weird amount of enjoyment out of doing the actual like business stuff. So like I feel like it's cathartic to like open up the inbox and there's like 20 unread emails, or like going through and sorting all of that and clearing it out is always nice. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, working on something that I'm just like really enjoying is fun. So like Ocean Harvest was a good thing there. Like we had giant task list and just like picking something that sounds fun that I think I can do and implementing it, and then you can tick it off and move on to the next thing. Yeah.
And Cam, I'd be rude if I didn't ask you the same. What's your favorite part of the day?
Am I allowed to say morning coffee?
Yeah, probably.
Otherwise, it's like that first, like getting to open the project again and revisit whatever I was working on the evening before. And more often not, solving the problem I had in about 10 minutes when it took me like an hour or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, that first, like getting it open again.
Yeah. All right. I believe that we had some questions actually as well from the viewers who had kind of registered before today. So Emma, you've got the questions there with you?
Yeah, I've got them over here. So first question is, why did you guys decide to make an indie studio? It's a big one.
I guess for me personally, it was there's enough supports in place, like through the government and through like AIE with the incubator program and stuff, that I figured the worst case scenario is it doesn't work out and they end up with a really good portfolio to then go and apply for other positions that already exist at other companies. And like, who wouldn't want to work for themselves and be successful if they can make it happen? Like, that was why I went with that.
Yeah, we did get one from the audience just now. I'll see if I can pop it up on screen. Apparently it will not. Okay, that's fine. It says, are you where you thought you'd be after graduating from AIE?
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, deep. Camryn, do you want to go first?
Sorry, you're going to have to repeat that. My speed is a little bit...
Are you where you thought you would be when you... Wait, what was the question? I'll get it up.
When you graduated.
Yeah, when you first thought... Like, are you where you thought you would be after graduating?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I thought it would be, if I'm honest. Because, like, originally I was looking for jobs before... Because I kind of hedged my bets and I started looking for jobs as well as doing Gdml. I was hoping I would get a job because then I could just have the money and I wouldn't have to really worry after that point, right? But yeah, I stuck on with these guys and we just kind of kept going and it's still going. And yeah, so I suppose my surprise speaks volumes. But I'm definitely enjoying it, let's put it that way.
It's a 10-year roller coaster that you've hopped on. You're in there for a while now, mate.
Mm-hmm.
How about you,
any other questions? Oh, sorry. Yeah, you go, Edee.
Maybe where I thought I'd be. I don't know. It's kind of same as Camryn. Like, I know when I first started at AIE, I definitely was thinking that I would graduate, get a job, do all of that. But it was like towards the end of second year when David, who's our CEO, suggested like, oh, do you want to come to Gdml and all that? I was like, oh, yeah, all right. I think it's worth giving it a shot, kind of thing. And I'm very glad that I did as well. Like, I have zero regrets about it. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We had one last question, and it's, how do you prepare ideas for new game concepts? So, big can of worms.
I guess specifically for the market that we're going for, it is a lot of looking at what's currently popular and then trying to come up with an interesting take on that. Is a lot of it, and then just otherwise, like, things come to you, I guess, if you're like, oh, that could be really cool, and then it's definitely a group thing as well. Like, someone will suggest something, and then the rest of it, someone else will be like, oh, that's really cool, but like, what about this kind of thing? And it is, there's a lot of communal design stuff that happens there as well.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I actually, just to quickly jump in on your point there, Edee, I was actually listening to your CEO, David McCann, on a podcast that he did, and he was talking about coming up with the initial ideas for the game, and he kind of said what you did then when it was, you need to look at trends and you need to, but he also very much differentiated. He said you can't just copy what's popular, because that kind of, if it's on a graph, kind of like you're on the tail end, right? If you're only starting to produce it after something's popular. So he's like, you got to be creative, you got to come up with new ideas, but kind of take on new adaptations. And it was a really kind of good insight as to what game design is like. And so anyone out there who likes to be trying to think outside the box, definitely game design is something that uses that skill.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry, I'll pass over to Cam now for his answer for that one.
Yeah, pretty similar. Yeah, it depends. So I've had a couple of ideas. Like critter capture was something I like originally suggested, and then other people seemed keen for it, so we went and made it. Otherwise, it's kind of like, it's just crowdfunded between a lot of us. So like Ocean Harvest, our current game we're working on, has hexagons as the map. I suggested that as a joke, but people seemed keen for it. So everything that you unlock is a hexagon connected to the other ones. It's great.
Cool. Any other questions from our viewers, Emma?
None at the moment.
Okay, excellent. So we are wrapping up towards the end there. So thank you so much for everyone who's joined us tonight, and obviously a big thank you to Edee and Cam for giving us the time to speak with them and hear about their journey in Mini Mammoth Games. Before we kind of finish up, I do want to ask two last quick questions, or semi-quick questions. But over the next, I guess, in your perfect ideal world, like, or with a bit of reality in it, where do you see Mini Mammoth going in the next few months? Like, what's on the horizon for you and your company now?
Right, so we have Ocean Harvest, of course. We're still working on that. We just pushed out a big update. We showed it at PAX. Otherwise, we've got, I'm sure, other games on the horizon. We're going to keep making a bunch of small games. We're still looking for contract work. We're basically filling like every avenue we possibly can.
Yeah. And same, Edee?
Yeah, pretty much. I think Camryn's got it. That's the plan going forward, and I think we've all decided to have a bit of a break over Christmas, and I think we're all looking forward to that as well. But yeah, otherwise just keep on pushing out lots of smaller things, updating our other products, and searching contract work.
Yeah, excellent. And my last question for you then, any bits of advice for any person watching that might be in high school or even finished high school that hasn't quite made the jump yet to studying full-time or going into game development full-time? Any bits of advice for them?
If it's something that you want to do, you should just go for it. And if you're not sure, you can download Unity. It's free. There's hundreds of tutorials available. Just start messing around, try and make something, and see how it goes. And if you enjoy it, then I definitely think it's worth pursuing. Life's too short to do something you don't love.
Yes,
absolutely.
Agreed. I concur. And Cam?
Yeah, pretty similar. The barrier to entry to making games is so low now. Like, it's kind of nuts. There's a million tutorials online. There's Unity is free. Scripting is fairly easy once you get the hang of it. There's even like visual, like drag and drop programming. If you've got an idea, you absolutely can go make it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for tonight. Like, we do really appreciate your time and your work. Emma, I believe, do you want to quickly run through the last little bit of information before we leave our lovely viewers?
Yeah, sure. We did just miss the last bit that you said there, Matt. But we have some really awesome events. So if you are interested in anything that we've talked about today, or you want to actually get a head start in games and all of that, you can come along to our open day that's coming up in November. So if you're interested in film, we do have some film events that are coming up. They'll be really, really awesome. So they're happening in Adelaide, Sydney and Canberra. But our open day, you'll be able to hear all about all the different courses that we offer here at AIE, and that'll be running on all campuses, hopefully, if COVID permits.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, always. But thank you so much for everyone who joined us tonight. We just love having everyone here to hear all about like some amazing work that our graduates are doing. So feel free to come along to the next one, and thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.